I've had a realization over the past couple of days that I think most people, if they really thought about it and really experienced it, allowed themselves to open up and experience this phenomenon, they would see that it's not the evil people, the small percentage of people that are really just basically embracing evil from the get-go. It's just their nature to channel dark energy that are the problem. Now, I actually talked about this in my book, The Choice, but now it's coming really full center for me in practical experience. This was an idea that was there in the book, but now I'm feeling it and experiencing it in real life. That there is, let's just say, about 10% of the people that are by nature evil. That's their role to play. And some of these people, some of these souls might just be playing a role because evil has to be expressed on planet Earth. And then you have 10% of the people that are saintly and spiritual and really good by nature. They're sort of the heroes in one way or another on this planet. And since this is a battleground planet between good and evil, there's always this balance of about 10% evil, 10% good, really evil and really good. And then there's the other 80%. And that other 80% is what determines whether or not there is a tendency towards good or a tendency towards evil. Because whichever direction they go in, whatever direction, a lot of these would be what people would call the so-called sheeple. Whatever direction that people allow the world to go in or participate in the world going in is how the world will be. And for the most part, the majority of that 80% have basically said, well, evil's not really evil. Evil really doesn't exist, or evil's not so bad, or evil's okay. They've said this in one way or another. And I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of this that everyone can see, yeah, this is exactly how it is. So these other groups of people, like what most people refer to as the sheeple or the masses, have allowed evil to become acceptable in our modern day civilization and even celebrated, where evil isn't something that is being hidden. And so this is the reason why the planet is in the state that it's in, because evil is now something that has become normal. So when you think about this, first of all, and I'm going to cover this extensively in a separate video, evil is a condition, good is a condition, love is a condition. They're abstract energies that flow through people. Everything, anger, fear, these are all abstract energies. They don't originate from your biological system. You have a component in your biological and emotional systems that allows you to express these emotions, these conditions. Now, if you think about a speaker, look at the different sounds a speaker makes, the different tones. Look at all the different instruments that can express them through a speaker. So all of these different tones, all of these different sounds, all of these different instruments, all of these sounds of nature can come through a speaker, and a high quality speaker really can catch the essence of those particular sounds. Now in your human system, you have in your gut, in your solar plexus, on a spiritual level, on an energetic level, you have all of these base level emotions, excitement and pleasure and anger and fear. You've experienced all of these emotions in your solar plexus region. And then when you're talking about higher level emotions, you have these different, you have the heart, which expresses love and compassion. And this is where your soul, these are higher developed emotions that you need your soul to express. These are coming in contact from the place of your soul, from a very deep place in you. And of course we have our minds that can think about greed and these types of things. These are all conditions. And your mind can say, oh, I want more, I want more. And there's an emotional component to this, but it's more of an energetic thought that comes through you. So these are all things that exist on planet Earth in an energetic form. They are they're in a living condition, and they pass through people. Anger will pass through you in your lifetime. Love will pass through you. Compassion will pass through you. Fear will pass through you. Maybe even hatred and malice and these types of things. There are systems and spiritual points in your body that express these conditions. And evil is a condition that is on planet Earth. Now, if you go to various places, physical places on planet Earth, locations, you will find that it's hard to be angry in some places. In other places, as soon as you walk into that area, you get angry. So there are actually connections to energy in various places on planet Earth. If you go to a strip club, there'll be a lot of lust. You go to you go to Washington, D.C., you'll get conniving, you'll get political, you'll get, manipulative, all of these things. The more that these emotions, the more that these conditions are expressed in a particular area, the more that they will be, that there will be the tendency when you're in that area to feel those conditions. So if you have a problem with anger and you go to a place where there's a lot of violence, then you'll feel these things in your personal system. And so this is something all of us need to be aware of. When you go to a spiritual place, an ashram, a church, someplace that there's actually high developed spiritual energy, you're going to think about God. You're going to feel God's love. It's going to be hard to get angry there. Anger isn't something that's supposed to be there. It gets thrown out of that particular area. And this is a need for us to purify our thoughts and our actions and do this over the whole planet. So eventually, these kind of negative emotions don't get expressed here. This is how you eventually get rid of evil altogether. But evil has a foothold on planet Earth, just like God has a foothold on planet Earth. As I said, that this is a battleground planet. These planets exist. They're not outside of God's control or God's plan, and they are places where people can choose between one side or the other. And that's some of the purpose of a planet like planet Earth. And so when you think about, and also people can work towards purifying these conditions in themselves and also work towards purifying these things out of the planetary system as well. And so you have a situation where the planet will no longer have evil on it because people no longer have the ability to express evil because they've cast these elements out of their system, these elements for expressing evil, for expressing anger, and these types of things. Because anger is usually or always anger against God. There's this sense that God isn't doing things right. And so anger comes up. There's injustice. What's wrong? Why isn't God doing something about this? Things aren't fair. Well, look at me. I'm being victimized in some way. And all of these components exist in people, victim consciousness and things. And then this energy flows through them. So you have these people that come down to express anger. Sometimes these are highly developed spiritual beings that are playing a role. Sometimes they're demons that have just gone over to the usurping of God position. I've talked about this, these villains in my book, The Choice. And so you have these various beings that are evil by nature, and they're just going to be evil. So they're doing what their role is to do. So you have these 10% of the people who are strong with evil. This is what they do. This is their role. They're playing their role, and they're not most likely going to change. Maybe some of them will change. Maybe some of them will come over and find a godly path, and that's part of their purpose. But for the most part, that's what they're going to do, and this is who they're going to be. And then you have these saintly and good people, and they have more of a flexibility because they can be swayed over to the dark side under dark conditions. And this is one of the problems. And so when they are weakened by what's going on in planet Earth, I've talked about the Kali Yuga, and they are not able to uphold their end, and there's a slide towards the evil side, then there's a problem. And then there's these other 80% of the people. Now, for the most part, when people are evil, when there's good energy on planet Earth, when God is being supported in people. When the godly energy is being supported in you, the love is being supported in you. Nature and the world is saying, yes, we want people to be loving. And that's a good percentage of the time, but not the last 5,000 years, where evil is more being supported. And when you run this situation where evil's being supported, then you have a situation where evil starts expressing itself with just openly. And that's what we have right now in our society. I've documented this over and over in videos. Took me a while to really understand it, what I was looking at. It's just where evil is expressing itself, and the 80%, and even to some extent the 10% of good people, are like, yeah, this is just kind of normal. This is how life is. And we've lost battles. The good side has lost battles. People have personally lost battles, and we've collectively lost battles. And one of the things that really made this click for me when I was watching that video about this baby boy, he must be under 2 months old, being circumcised, and the doctor talking to his mother, and the mother being in the room when this baby's going through this traumatic operation, and what the doctor ends up saying to the mother, and her not saying, "Are you out of your effing mind?" I mean, this is what her response should be, because this is what the doctor says. We do circumcision mostly for its cosmetic benefit and not for anything medical. There is some evidence that maybe it prevents some sexually transmitted diseases. This is the oldest medical procedure known to mankind. We have done it virtually unchanged for 3,000 years. Now, him saying that, they're basically doing plastic surgery on your infant son. This has become acceptable in some bizarre, evil twist. Now, this is the most sensitive part of the male body. The foreskin itself has like thousands of different nerve endings. So this is a highly sensitive area. This isn't some dead piece of flesh. And it's cosmetic surgery. Now, would you have your child get a boob job weeks after it's been born? Would you get your child to have Botox or have a nose job or have any sort of deforming plastic surgery because you think they're going to not be happy with what they look like? And so think about this, that this became a mandatory, almost a mandatory type operation for years and years. Now it's losing favor to some extent because they were afraid that it looks bad. This is a cosmetic surgery. This is plastic surgery. And the pain and suffering this baby goes through, when clearly you can allow the child to wait until they're an adult. They can have this operation anytime they want. It's plastic surgery. There are no medical benefits. A doctor who is doing this on videotape, he's done hundreds of thousands of these surgeries. This is somebody that does this and believes in it, and he's telling this woman there are no medical benefits. And yet all of these women, all of these mothers, in their hearts they must know this is a horrible thing. On some level in their being, they've known for years, this became a normal procedure. The 80% and the good people allowed this evil to penetrate into this culture, into our culture. It's the new normal. Now, there was a lot of comments on my Fuller House video from people saying, oh, you're reaching. If you watch all 4 of my Full House videos, the documentation of there being inappropriate contact between the male actors and the young female actresses is just totally evident. There's a lot of information there that the actors themselves say that there's inappropriate behavior from the male actors, where the mothers and the producers had to call Bob Saget in and say, you got to knock it off. They were exposing them to sexually explicit jokes and innuendos and things like that. Things that would have been in a normal workplace if Bob Saget and even his 2 cohorts there, who dropped their pants and ran around the van, and the mothers came out and said, what are you guys doing? The girls are seeing this on the monitor. This was something that Dave Coulier said, he said. And so these were things that were going on there. It's well documented. There's clearly satanic roots in this show. undertones, hidden pedophilia undertones and things like that. And you have all these people saying, oh, this is a wonderful show. A wonderful show? Even if you got rid of these things that are in there, it's not a wonderful show. It is a subpar show at best. But you see the mentality of people, what's become quality in their minds, things that they have just mundane, low rent, poor written, poor acted shows are considered things that are wholesome and good and quality. So this is a way that people are expressing that evil just becomes normal. Now it's acceptable. It's great. In fact, now we've reversed things. Things that are evil are now considered good. So when you think about all this, now I've covered this in other videos when my family and I were homesteading, and I realized how much we're all dependent on this system. And the system comes from the debt-based economic system, usury. It comes from the principle of usury, which everybody knows comes from the black magic side of things. It's a sorcery. The economic system comes from a form of sorcery. It creates value out of debt, so you can't get any more satanic than that. When they're always reversing something, when they're always inverting something. And so when they take debt, when they take an IOU, when they take obligation and turn that into value, where you can purchase things with that debt, then you have satanic money. You have a devil-run economic system, which pretty much everybody in the world is dependent on. So this is one of the foundational building blocks of this slippery slope, where the people that are sort of in the middle, that go from good to evil, that can fluctuate either way, the mass majority of the people on planet Earth, this is where they are addicted and attached to dark energy for their very existence. So when you think about this, now Agenda 21, people think this is some sort of a new thing. Agenda 21 has been in action for over 100 years. Agenda 21 has been here for a very long time. Also, when you think about gun control, well, people have given up something much more precious than their guns over 100 years ago, when people started to give up their skills and their knowledge how to live in a village-based system, an agriculture agrarian system in a homesteading village-type environment. When they gave that up, they gave up their ability to say no to the evil system. So this is something that's very important. This is where Agenda 21 first began, when they got people to move off their farms and into the city. Some of it was done by force, some of it was done by coercion, but once our ancestors lost their ability to live in an agrarian type environment, then we lost our ability to say no to the evil-based system. Now, if you understand how drug dealers work, drug dealers for the most part will give away their drugs in the beginning until you get addicted to them. Now, they don't want you to know the side effects of the drugs or the ultimate cost for them, and I'm not just talking about money, the ultimate cost for using drugs in terms of your liver, in terms of your health, in terms of your soul. They don't want you to know how much it's going to cost after you start using it. They want you to experience the pleasure of it. And that's what they did to enroll people in this dark system. They allowed people to experience the pleasure of only working 8 hours a day and not toiling away on their homestead. They allow people to experience the pleasure of going to purchase goods and services and indulging in all kinds of decadent type material, sensory stimulating material, all of which were very pleasurable as people moved off the farm and secured jobs and had income, and were able to upgrade themselves to a lifestyle that their parents and grandparents never knew. Everyone was able to sort of live like royalty, live like kings, and they didn't know what the price for that was. But now that everybody in the world is getting more and more addicted to the dollar, getting more addicted to the debt-based economy and the debt-based lifestyle and the lifestyle of electricity, now all of a sudden you can see here are the side effects. Now they're now saying, well, this is part of it too. And you've already given up your no. You don't have the ability to just say, you know what, we don't want this. We don't want this. Enough, stop. Because now everybody is so dependent on this system, they are rolling out what this system is really about, where its origins come from, and what your price for it is. It's ultimately is your connection to God in your soul. I cover this in pretty much every one of my videos. The connection to the God that exists inside of you, the part of you that is connected to God. Your spirit, your soul, you lose connections with that. You lose connections with God. You lose connections with your natural world. So when they're rolling out this system, they say, oh, it's just pleasure, come here, look at the lifestyle. It's great, just like when they're bringing the kids to play on that island in Pinocchio, where they all turn into jackasses, they all turn into donkeys. Because in the beginning, it's just all fun and games. Oh, it's just about pleasure. But then they said, you know, you're just going to have to give up your connection to the natural world. You're no longer going to experience the natural world. Well, that's okay, we live in the city now. You know, you're going to have to give up your connection to your family. Both of you are going to have to work to get this money. You're going to have a two-parent income type family. Your kids need to be raised by the state. You guys are all going to be addicted to video games and television. So now you're not going to be able to connect on a heart-based level with your family. Well, that's okay because we're really enjoying ourselves. We have the weekends. You know, we like watching the TV. It makes us feel good. So people start giving things up. Well, you know, you're going to have to give up your gender because, you know, there's no longer any families. There's no longer any sort of, you don't really need to be married anymore. You can be one gender one day, one gender the next. What difference does it make? You're living in a video game anyway. Most of the time you spend in some imaginary world on the internet 8 hours a day. So we're going to give up your gender. Oh, I guess that's okay. This gender fluid, everyone's equal. Everyone's the same. None of us have any sort of defining moments or defining characteristics about ourselves. So you can see this slippery slope. You have to give up and then eventually your rights and these types of things. And people are worried about giving up their guns, but once you've given up your skills, then you have no choice. The government just takes, the system just takes, the beast just takes from you because you don't have the ability, because this stuff should have been fought off in the villages. The villages should have said no. See, this isn't about protesting. It's not necessarily about war. It's not about any of these things. It's just about people saying no. It's about one evil person saying, you know what, let's try this thing. And everybody going, that's not right. Let's cut off the foreskin of all the male children in society. And the mothers and the fathers of the villages and the good people say, are you crazy? And the person goes, no, I was just joking. And so that's how evil gets squashed. And that's not what's happened here. And so you have this on a daily basis where people are telling you things that are crazy. Things about, you know, crisis acting things, gender fluidity, just all these things that they're proposing every day. The video games that people are allowing their children to play, the television shows, the evil that's dripping out of all of these things. And we keep on saying, oh, it's okay, it's not so bad. You know, you've given up your no. People have to say enough, just consciously. Pray to God, say this is enough, take some sort of a stand. No, this is inappropriate, this is evil. But they keep on rolling out this evil, and they get to because people accept it. And this is why we have a problem in our society. This is why we have a problem in our world. It's the acceptance of evil. It's not that evil exists, because there's always ways to combat evil. And first and foremost, it's when good people say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not participating in this. This is obviously something that comes from the dark place. This is better left not explored. No, don't do this. I'm not a part of this. I don't have to explore this part of myself. I don't have to experiment with this part of myself. I don't have to draw this stuff out of myself. I don't need to indulge in these types of things. I don't need to experiment and indulge and enjoy and just say, well, maybe these things are okay. No, this is obviously something that's going to take me away from God. It's going to take me away from the natural world. It's negatively going to affect my family. It's negatively going to affect the world and ultimately my connection to the soul within me. No, the answer is no, this is not good. And when people do that collectively, then evil will effectively disappear from planet Earth.